Hey everybody, it's Devin Francis, also known as Leonard Meltzner,
And Ren.
and you're watching episode 142 of the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast. This is going to be probably the last episode that we film before Victoria goes away for the summer, and then we'll be on Skype and split screen again. It'll be sad, and Devin will have to do marginally more editing, but the files will be bigger and more annoying in Dropbox and sad times.
And Skype sucks.
Yes.
So that's another
also
thing.
Skype. What are we doing today, Victoria?
You're me reviewing
What are we doing, guys?
the 2017 OAC soundtrack.
And Jeff overcome me for a second there. Yeah.
You're like so close to my face.
They're coming out faster and faster and faster every single year. It's ridiculous because the first time it was like August, July, maybe.
Back when no one remembered what the episode sounded like anyway.
And now it's like February or March this came out, I think.
So we were like super late with it.
Well, we had, we were doing other stuff. There was a season that we were reviewing.
Yep.
And then you did finals. And now you're done, as of today.
As of today.
Done third year.
Oh yeah, I never told you how my exam went.
Nope, nope. You can tell me later. So, yes, the OAC 2017, AIOC 2017 soundtrack. Description. Do you want to read the description that we got? I'll put the art up.
We opened Season 4 with One More Name, a 3-part Holocaust drama that created new challenges for composer John Campbell. To hear I thought it said monster truck for a second. To hear a master at work, just listen to these mournful yet hopeful strains all by themselves. Then enjoy bouncy... Oh, that took an emotional turn. Then enjoy bouncy game day energy, unfair game, ominous tones, and trickling scales. Trickling... That's a weird... Okay.
Trickle Lake.
Okay. And Swept Away, and a historic mosey through the Civil War, the legend of Sperry Gurk. Finally returned... Sperry McGurk. Sperry Gurk. I will call him what I want to. Veggie Tales guy. Finally returned to New Zealand via the jaunty themes of There and Back Again.
Was that because pickles? Was that the joke?
No, just Sperry McGurk. It sounds like a Veggie Tales.
I thought maybe because you said Gurk, like gherkin pickles.
It just sounds like a Veggie Tales name to me, and this is coming from someone who had watched every single Veggie Tales movie up until like 3 years ago. I had to stop because they were just getting really bad, and then they changed the entire animation style, and now it scares me. So,
yeah, as we had on the screen here, we got Ort, as we always do, for this album, so we can see...
Irina.
So we have part 2, it's part 1, yeah.
We have the horse episode, we have Swept Away, and then we have My Boy Jay.
And part 1.
And then we have the testimony one.
Correct.
By showing the not How to Train Your Dragons.
Definitely.
Not Astrid.
Hashtag definitely not Astrid TM.
Not DreamWorks copyright infringement.
Nope.
Not that.
No intellectual property infringement here.
You can tell
at all
by the fact that they look the same. There's no difference.
Yeah.
It's Astrid.
That's how you know, Victoria. That's how you know it's not infringement.
Yeah, they say plagiarism is the most sincere form of plagiarism. That is the expression.
Yep. So, first episode of this season, Irena Sendler Was a Ladybug, part 1. All 3 of these songs were very sad.
They
were. I get it, sad. Because it was like a documentary on the Holocaust, so it makes sense.
That's not how documentaries work, but go on.
It was like there was one mood throughout. It was a lot less like variety in tone than we usually get for a single song, let alone a 3-parter. Yeah, it started out very morose clarinet and high strings, and then it turned into like a tenser clandestine feel because it's like building suspense of the secret work Irena is carrying out. I noticed at the end of this song, and I don't know if I pointed this out before, but I feel like every single song with this tone, we get the same closing cadence, the same like last 5 chords for every single song that has like this emotional feel to it, which is like
that's how you know who wrote it.
That's like, and the songs with this feel, this tone is like 40% of all AIOC episodes for the 48 songs that have come out now.
Yep.
The soundtracks.
Yep. But wait, the one with oh wait, no, that 2-parter was in the latest album. Never mind. I was thinking like we're finally gonna get 2 episodes next OAC season soundtrack, not written by John Campbell, but those were in the actual album.
What were you thinking of?
With David and Absalom.
Yes.
I mean,
we've had ones that weren't John Campbell.
I know. It's just there's not a lot.
Yeah. And then part 2, Miraculous Sendler, part 2. The emotion I felt most from this song was like worry and concern, like something weighing on your heart. The tempo and the heavier pizzicato on this one over the last one.
It's so sad.
It gave me this sense that like something is being done about these worries. Like at first, it just felt like this tension, like concern and worry, like what are we gonna do? And then it like picks up, and like I said, there's pizzicato, like string plucking, and it kind of gave the sense that like we're still worried, but like something's happening now. There's action to combat the worry. Can feel the action in the notes. I really like listening when you can actually pick apart and be like, hey, I think I know like what this is supposed to be. It's a good feeling. And the pace picks up and it mixes with this like regimented snare drum, which I think is supposed to be one of the run-ins with the Nazis directly, because it has like this very like strict marching feel, like a war drum Gestapo kind of thing. It might be the one on the part 2 episode art, given that it's like a third of the way through the song. And then things take a turn for the dramatically bad, because the music is really loud and sinister, and the timpani replaces the snare drums. This one deserved the imperfect cadence that ends on this one, so this one did have a different ending. We got imperfect, a 1-5. We're left wanting more resolution. Part 3, Miraculous, Tales of Irena Sendler and Chat Noir, Part 3.
Devin's pretending he's better at music than me.
I'm really not. I'm just because you're not, because you didn't write stuff down and I wrote stuff down.
Yeah.
I know that you know music terms, Victoria. You did more music than I did. You're the one who's going to do a music degree.
And don't you forget it, punk.
I don't. You're just not saying things, so I have to say.
I know, it's because everything kind of blends together for me.
It is hard. I have to really like focus on writing stuff down, otherwise the music just all.
There are a couple
that all just like homogenous.
Stood out for me, but they haven't come up yet, so I'll talk about them later.
So the third one it had a little bit more of an emotionally triumphant ear feel to it. The score in this one felt a lot more personal somehow, like more focused on Irena than the world around her, which would fit with this episode's focus on her personal understanding and development while she's in prison and then later escaping and finding love, as opposed to like rescuing kids. I like in general, it's crazy to me how the AIO leitmotif has been riffed on in so many ways through the music and all the different themes over the years, that even though the original theme is like 7 notes, like that dun 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 dun, that has been varied so many times that variations thereon are now recognizable by no more than just a major sixth by itself.
I think
like lots of these variations will literally just have like bum bum and they'll do something else, but like that's all it takes to be the theme.
I think the series I've come across that has the most variations on the main theme in its score, it's Fairy Tale, because you listen to the soundtrack and you realize every single song, like,
pretty much
is the main song, but it's just played slower or faster, or they add one more instrument.
I do.
And you don't notice that when you're watching the show, but then you listen to the soundtrack and you're like, they scammed me.
I do like the first time I pointed that out to you, you're like, man, I really love, like, this is my favorite song, like, the slow and sad one. I was like, and after I actually got the soundtracks, all of them, and I was like, you do realize that this is just the main song, but they just played it at, like, half speed?
No, it isn't. And I listened to it, and I was like, they got me. I've been got.
I wouldn't have realized if it wasn't for, like, listening to all the songs
like
through.
that guy who, like, breaks onto the screen using a green screen, and he was like, haha, pranked! You know what I'm talking about?
No.
He's, like, the same guy who did, like, are you sure about that? And, like, it's
John
time
Cena?
to stop. Oh, no, not that one, but he did, like, that, it's time to stop, and some other ones.
Matt Peake.
There's one where he, like, bangs open a door, and he's just like, haha, pranked!
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll show you later.
I think AIO has done more variations on the theme than Fairy Tale has, but Fairy Tale's made a lot more, like, full songs out of variations on its theme.
It's because you can't tell their variations until it's too late.
In fairness, most of them sound pretty similar. It's just different instrumentation. It's really just the one slow one that
it's all
tricks you.
The same song.
So, excellent opening 3-parter. Very emotional music, and then we move on to episode 4, which is Subtle Abandoned Coal Mine Foreshadowing. I felt like this year I got a lot less creative in my titles, except for the last ones, which we already knew what it was going to be because I came up with it and talked about it during the reviews.
Yeah.
The score begins super actiony and dangerous because it's like Rose's testimony.
This one, if I hadn't known what episode it was, and that it was like a everyday life episode, I would have thought it was like a fantasy adventure quest. It sounded like
that's because that's what everyday is in Buddy.
It sounded like they went across the world on a trip in the song, and then I like finished the song and I was like, oh yeah, that was a good one. What one was that? Like Unfair Game or something like that? And I looked at the title again. I was like, oh wait, what?
Yeah.
I was like, was that for the How to Train Your Dragon bit or something?
It's all, like, tense and espionage and action danger at the beginning, because it's, like, Rose's testimony. It's crazy. And it keeps up the tension for a little longer, but much less life-threateningly. I think that was maybe supposed to be Buddy's first, like, imagine vision of Jurassic Park.
Yeah, probably.
And then it hard cuts to baseball organs. For Camilla's much more interesting storyline in the most vicariously painful listen-to scene in all of Adventures in Odyssey.
Oh, man. You're gonna hate this, and everyone listening to this is gonna hate what I'm about to say. That's why I thought it was Unfair Game for a minute, because I heard "Take Me Onto the Ball Game," and for a second I was like, "Wait,
that's the basketball song."
I was like, "Wait, dude, am I remembering Unfair Game right? I thought it was about baseball." I'm like, maybe John Campbell didn't get the memo. And I was just like, good. Well, it's also sports, so we'll just roll with it.
Oh, it's sports music. Okay.
But I knew it was a different sport, but I was just like, I thought it was Unfair Game because it sounded like all crazy, like, and stuff, so I was like, oh, it might be Unfair Game. I just clicked on the wrong one, and then I heard sports, and my brain was like, sports, and I'm like, but that's wrong sports. But
wrong sports. That is really funny. It's so hard to interject humor into our music reviews, so thank you for that, Victoria.
You're welcome.
Thank you for giving at least 2 views to this video.
I'm so stupid, and it's just, yeah.
Oh, that's okay. It's sports. That's the biggest area where we're allowed to not care about anything.
And cars. Actually, I kind of like cars sometimes. I've been to lots of car shows, but that's because my dad takes me to them.
So, from the baseball organs, and then we just get, like, classic slice of life, like, the clarinet, glockenspiel, woodblock trio that means, like, John Campbell's slice of life. And then it ends on this climactic, cinematic note to represent Buddy's dangerous situation, probably, and then, like, normal close. Episode 4, which was not the last song, Marvin Who Time Forgot. There's a reference in there. The Final Pam. Because Marvin is ageless.
Yeah.
Is the joke.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
That one was iffy.
I thought it was funny.
Well, after I explained it.
No, I thought it was funny before.
Okay.
but it's just, you need to, like, not show me what the names are.
Yeah.
And then I'll laugh when I see them.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I also saw the next name.
Well, so that wasn't a clever one. I'm
still trying to figure it out, honestly.
Okay, unfair game. This one is super high energy. It's very, like, tuned percussion, synthetic beats, sportsy,
0
sportsy music.
out of 5 doesn't have Take Me Out to the Ball Game in it.
You can hear in the middle section the, like, montage bit where it's just a whole bunch of insults from Ricky because the piece keeps modulating upwards every, like, 10 seconds for each, like, scene change where he came up with new insults, and I was like, aha, that is the scene that is.
None of the insults were good, though. They were just annoying.
No, but that's what the scene was.
I know. Ricky was so annoying at the beginning of the episode. Like, I liked him by the end of it. Let me just clarify. But at the beginning,
so
it's very annoying.
It takes a whole 2/3 of the piece, basically, for the music to calm down from, like, high energy sports enough to have an actual emotional scene at, I assume, Smoky Mountain. And then it ends with back to perky syntho sports beats. It's, like, very high energy. We'll talk about the ends. This was my least favorite of the songs. Because it was just, like, so, like, syntho sports.
I think this one might have been my least favorite, too.
I wasn't a huge fan of any of the, like,
I don't remember anything from this, except for kind of, like,
I wasn't particularly a fan of any of the single-part songs on this album. But, yeah, this one was,
there were a couple where it's just, like, this isn't as good as, like, the first 4, or I basically didn't like any of the middle songs. I liked the first 4, and I liked the last ones. But, like, some in the middle, I just didn't really care for. Like this one. And the next 2.
Next 2 were actually my favorite.
Really?
Flash Flood X.
I thought they were kind of generic.
I really like the beginning, so we have, like, a very somber horn that gives the classic minor variation on the theme.
A Jason X joke? Or are you saying that because there's been so many, like, flood disaster episodes?
Yeah, it's just, like, Flash Flood 2. Okay. Electric Boogaloo.
You probably don't know what Jason X is.
I'm assuming that it's like a Friday the 13th.
Yeah, but it takes place in space.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I'm aware.
But there's, like, the best part is there's sequels after that, but they're not in the future. I don't understand those movies.
Yes, I know.
And
it's
I
weird.
haven't seen them.
No, this was X more in the Achievement Hunter style of, like, put an X on the end, and now it's, like, version 2 improved.
Oh, okay. You should have put some X's at the beginning and X's at the end.
XX, lowercase x, uppercase X, Flash Flood.
And then a number.
1989.
869.
Uppercase X, yeah, lowercase X, 420.
Yeah.
Part 1. I really like the beginning. So, yeah.
Today is a holiday that we're filming this. Forgot to mention.
Oh, yeah.
It's Todd Howard's birthday, April 25th.
Is it his birthday? Oh, is that why?
Yeah.
Oh. I thought you were going to say it's the day from Miss Congeniality. It's the perfect day. Oh, yeah,
that too. It's the perfect day. It's Todd Howard's birthday, which is the perfect day. He is a perfect human.
Todd Coward.
Todd Coward. Todd Toward. Todd devoured. There's so many beautiful variations.
So this very somber French horn gives a classic minor, the classic minor variation on the theme. It's a quiet tension that's broken by soft, sad piano chords. So there's just, like, violins slowly, gently, like, holding arcado, and then there's just, like, just pairs of small intervals on the piano that's, like, very quiet and, like, very spaced apart. It's definitely, like, the opening future scene of the Odenton family when they're like, our home was destroyed and stuff. And then things blast in as we whoosh through the news channel exposition. News music. Now at 5. Which I make it sound more like it's shock radio. But it's news music.
I miss
KR Channel 12. I know, I do too a lot.
He was so...
I miss Corey Burton in general. I was going to say,
like, he was such a good boy, but he was a garbage trash boy. He was
garbage boy, stink man.
Yeah, He was Garbage Voice Stink Man, but I really liked him.
No, he was so good. Yeah, News Channel exposition, and then we move into the body of the episode immediately. Dramatic, minor, cinematic, tense strings punched through by hemiola horns. More dramatic. There's like slightly cyber sounds at one point, because it's like Eugene's end on the valve controls, computers. It's a pretty quiet piece overall. Like, it comes up and down because there's so many different plot lines in the episode going through it. It's quiet, but it's not calm. Like, it's a quiet tension with restraint. Honestly, and I wrote this without even thinking about how it fit, I was like, it literally feels like a pent-up flooding dam of emotions, like, about to burst forth.
And you wrote that, and you were like, I'm so smart! Unlike Victoria, who doesn't know sports, except for...
That's what I thought, yeah, when I wrote it.
You wrote that down, too.
Yeah.
No, I just need to clarify one more time. I know Take Me Out to the Ball Game is not a basketball song.
A basketball song?
A basketball song. It is a baseball song. But I was also doing other things while listening to the soundtrack. So my brain was like, oh, sports. And then I listened closer. I was like, wait, that's not right.
Yes, in fairness, this was a long album. The
longest
one.
I've also only listened to Unfair Game, like, I think once or twice. So I was just like, I can't be I remember it being basketball. Like, I'm really confused.
So funny.
I don't understand.
No, this was a long album. And don't worry, we'll get to the statistical analysis later.
What do you mean by that?
Statistical comparison of the lengths and standard deviation of lengths of songs of previous soundtrack albums.
These songs were really short.
They had the longest average length of any album.
2 minutes.
They were all 3 minutes.
No, like all the ones in the second half of it were like 2 minutes.
They were very close to each other. They were closer to. It was the longest songs on average. Well, we'll get to it later. Flash Flood X Part 2. It's funny. It's really funny to me how codified the sound of underwater music is in our minds. Like, do you ever think about that?
What's
Seth Everman, like the guy on Tumblr, tall bald guy, and he makes the videos about like music where he plays the keyboard and he does like different.
Oh, does
variations.
He do those movie songs that he writes where he's just like what the Ready Player One?
That wasn't him.
That was not. That was an African American.
That wasn't him. No, he's the tall bald white guy who does the and it'll be like video game. He'll do like he did like Africa's. Like, he did, like, Africa. Toto's Africa, but in the styles of, like, all through different songs in the video game.
I've probably heard his stuff
He's
before.
Also, like, probably one of the most famous 5 bloggers on all of Tumblr. Anyways, I find it funny how underwater music, like, the sound of that is such a, like, set thing in our minds. Like, when Seth Everman makes those videos about video game music and, like, different genres and stuff, there's always an underwater bit.
Oh, I recognize him.
Yeah.
He looks mad all the time.
Yeah. There's always an underwater bit in those videos, and the sound is such a defined thing. Like, underwater music in, like, a Mario game versus Final Fantasy versus Call of Duty that has underwater levels. Video game underwater music.
Versus Mario.
I said Mario first.
Oh, I didn't hear that one.
It always has, like, the same sound, like, the same instruments and aesthetic and stuff. But it's, like, it's more than that. Like, I can't verbally nail down what it is about the sound, but it's, like, such a defined thing.
It's, like, really bubbly and stuff.
Exactly. It's bubbly music, but what does that mean?
Bubbly.
They don't have the sounds of bubbles,
it means
so what does it mean? Is it use of marimbas? Is that it?
Marimbas and xylophones.
I feel like it's more than marimbas, though.
And lots of percussion.
I think it's
Creative percussion.
I think it's also, like, you muffle the EQ, but there's lots of, like, soft arpeggios up and down.
And mutes.
As part of it.
You got lots of mutes and the trumpets and, like, stuff.
Is there usually horns in underwater music, though?
How much underwater music have you listened to? Have you been listening for horns? You don't know there's not horns.
There is in Under the Sea, definitely. Yeah, but that exactly. I don't think that song really fits into the typical underwater.
They are underwater when it plays.
So
Devin, you don't think Under the Sea is an underwater song? Next thing you're gonna tell me, take me out to the baseball game.
The Pool Boys isn't an underwater
a basketball song, where the Pool Boys are not underwater songs.
That says touche. So yeah, this
also all those trumpets Pool Boys got that they play underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just sounds like It would not sound good. Don't stick your trumpets underwater, kids. Don't do it.
You've done it.
I haven't.
I know.
So this song starts off with an underwatery bit that is clearly like Eugene and Wooten scuba diving under the lake. And it carries through most of the song, like underlying the rest of the piece. Like the rest of the piece does other stuff, but it still has like this underwatery, this undertow, I guess, underneath it. See what I did there? See what I did there?
No.
And then the end of the piece, this is my favorite thing about this whole two-parter. The end of the piece reflects the beginning of part one. It brings back almost the exact same part of the score where it's like just tense, really quiet arcado violin, but like with this pairs of gentle piano chords.
I'm trying to come up with a water pun mixed with a music term, but I can't.
So it brings back...
It's really hard.
It has this repetition of the Odenton family scene, except the chords...
Stop showing me the names!
Sorry, I'm not meaning to. The chords have now gone from minor to major, because it's like, hey, we heard this scene at the beginning of the part one, and now at the end of part two, so they did that with the music, but we changed the minor chords to major chords, because now we're getting the emotional resolution from what's happening. I was like, that is a good emotional touch to put that in there, and I thought that was, like, cool and stuff. Yeah.
See, I would have laughed at the name of the
Well, you can laugh now. Next episode, Hussey's backstory.
Ha, 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 ha. That was my Fluttershy laugh.
Thank you.
It's horses. You just figured that out.
Yeah. I thought because you wanted to sound insincere to awkward cough.
That too. Clue. Both. It's an innuendo. It has two purposes.
That's not what innuendo
is. Yes, it is! I like Googled it once, and it said like something that has dual purposes in its meaning and wordplay. But they changed the meaning of it now.
Yeah.
It used to mean wordplay, but it doesn't anymore.
I mean, honestly, every time I'm reclaiming it.
I'm reclaiming the term innuendo.
Every time Hussey talks about horses, it feels like innuendo.
And it's also Andrew talks about them in his Ryan. I meant Ryan. Ryan talks about them.
I was like, which Andrew Hussey?
Yeah, Andrew talks...
I didn't realize you guys were on a first-name basis.
Darn it, I meant Ryan. Ryan talks about them a lot in his Choose Your Own Adventure books.
That makes sense.
I can always tell he's thinking of Hussey when he is, although he never clearly states it.
I assume that's how they became friends.
You can tell. No, I don't think, I think Ryan North is, a couple degrees less into horses than Hussey is. Because there's, that Twitter thing from a while back where it's just I became Hussey today. How is it? I expected there to be a lot more horses.
The proof that Ryan North was actually Lord English the entire time. Anyways, back to the episode.
No one knows what we just said, but that's okay.
Hey, you started it.
You started it with the name.
That's correct.
Liar.
This song opens with gentle country strings and a small intercut of crunchy electric guitar representing them city slickers.
Does it have one part where there's an ear-shattering scream to represent the horror that is Wit with his eyes closed throwing an axe and hitting the target?
Yeah, because
exactly.
We get a lot of strings. There's the gentle country guitar, and then there's electric guitar, and then there's the screeching horror violins, the and when we realize what John Avery Whitaker's capable of with a throwing hatchet.
Can we redo some old episodes that we've already done? I want to redo top 10 most intense Novacom scenes, but it's just that scene for every single one.
If there was any episode we were going to redo, it would definitely be that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, the music picks up to a more allegretto pace in the middle, with the pace of riding a horse at a decent canter, I assume. I haven't ridden a horse in a long time. And then it mellows out again, which is probably Renee chilling with the horses in the barn.
When have you ridden a horse?
Caitlin and Ryan had horses.
I never knew you were... I've been on a horse once. I was 6 and it was horrifying.
We also went to a place once, a farm thing, and there was horses that we rode, and then we've been on horses
I've only been on a horse once.
At Dan and Kathy's farm. Pretty sure twice.
No. Uncle Bob and Auntie Betty put me on a horse, and it was horrifying. for like a Sunday school thing.
Pretty sure you've been on horses
Its
3
name
times
was
then and
Strawberry,
just don't remember.
And it was terrifying. I was like, it was just cantering, just like really slow.
Mm-hmm.
I almost fell off because I was so tiny.
I don't think cantering really slow.
Trotting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not
cantering.
Right.
Cantering really slow.
It was galloping, but like slowly. It was like slow motion. Yeah, there's not much to say about this song. Shyamalan Pretzel. Plot twist city. There's so many plot twists.
Why pretzel?
Because it's all twisted. The plot twists are twisted.
Oh, okay.
It's a twist of plot twists.
That's not how you spell Shyamalan.
I know. I didn't have internet while I was doing it.
Shyamalan.
I know there's a bunch of Y's that...
Shyamalan. Don't worry, no one spells his name right. So, like, if that makes you feel better.
I would have looked it up if I wasn't on the bus when I did it.
It's like Benedict Cumberbatch, but, like, not as made fun of as Benedict Cumberbatch is the name.
So this song, as the album description...
Have you listened to Elementary yet?
No.
Darn it. Okay.
I'm still on Nights. It's very long. This song, as the album description describes, is very Mosey-ish. It's got this...
Mosby.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking.
Get out.
Frindle. Do you want or flim? Very relevant to our talking about the 1860s.
No running in my imagination station program. I didn't know what to use with that.
Yeah, it's very, like, folksy, 1960s Midwest town full of simple folk just trying to get by in a war. Now
that we're talking about Mr. Mosby, I just have, like, little John Avery's voice in my head where he's like, Mr. Mosby! Because in,
Ted, But yeah, the guy from the Pirates.
Yeah. Okay, yes. I know we already talked about this, but when we did that episode, I can't remember your answer. When you hear him yell Mr. Mosby, do you think, why not? Like, not at all?
I mean, I'm
That's
sure the
so
first...
weird.
Generally, the first time I heard the episode, I'm sure I was like, wow, Mosby. That's just like...
He's in this too!
But... No, I mean, after that, I just think of him as the character. I don't associate it with Zack and Cody. I'm sorry.
What's wrong with you?
I'm a bad 90s kid.
That show is my life!
I'm a bad 90s kid.
That show made me cry in Sweet Life deck finale.
It's just folksy, Midwest, and then in comes like an old colonial song with a steady tom drum beating out the march. And it's like, hey, Civil War.
Names, spellings... Geezy Chrisum.
That's almost how it was spelled.
Magnus Burns.
Merge It picks up. It picks up the pace a bit, presumably, which is the ensuing battle, and then it becomes quite sad and somber, which is probably the death of G.C. Chrisum and McGurk's disfiguration.
Wait, how did he get disfigured again?
From the he got shot in the ball with a cannon. Yeah. He had the cannon face.
You got hit with cannon face. It's a disease.
I stand by what I
Cannon
say.
face is it's kind of like trench foot.
It affects
your face.
Affects millions of Canadians every year. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with cannon face, you may be entitled to compensation.
Cannon face is what I call when...
The joke here is that you don't even get those...
Book and I want a certain cast of actors to play those characters. So that's what I call fan casting. I call it cannon
The joke is
face.
that I said Canadians instead of Americans because we're from Canada, but you don't even get ads for class action lawsuits in Canada. Like, that's only an American thing, so it doesn't even make sense.
Wait, they don't?
We don't. We don't get those, like... If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to compensation stuff.
If you had a child in front of you right now, what would you do? I love that vine.
Okay. Finally, last one.
My boy.
Living in the J.
I have things to say about this now.
Do you?
About this stuff now. Yeah.
The theme in this one is pretty burned into my mind at this point. I assume for all of us, because the opening tune of the first episode, the first episode opens on this tune, and there's the beginning of every single previously on thereafter. So I've heard it so many times by now, between like hearing episodes multiple times and like the previously ons and in the episodes. It's, yeah.
Do you remember like in Odyssey, back when there was one sad theme, and
yes.
whenever people were sad, they'd play the sad theme?
Yeah.
And now they have new sad themes,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like, man, times have changed. I kind of miss that one sad
theme.
Times
have changed.
I actually really liked it.
I like how you're like, times have changed since back in 1898, or sorry, 1989.
I miss having 4 songs and then constantly using them over and over
back
again.
when I liked
those 4 songs.
I remember back when Recollections came out.
Before I was born.
10 years before I was born. Before you were born, not me.
Yeah.
But
so like,
yeah.
Seriously, that sad song that like you hear, I think one of the last times we hear it, that like, it's not one of the last times.
The last one that sticks in my mind is Home Is Where the Hurt Is.
Mine is a little bit earlier than that. It's the one with, it's the first one with the Julie. The first one with Julie.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that one called?
Myers.
Myers.
Where's Your Daddy?
Yeah. I do want to say Myers because there are like 2 YA authors whose last names are Myers, and one of them I'm like a big fan of.
Are you? What?
Yeah,
are you?
I know. And I'm like,
since when? I had no idea.
And I was like, I don't know if I can't remember if that's actually her name.
Is it Stephanie Meyer?
Just like, it's Marissa Meyer actually. But I always know where the Stephanie Meyer books are because they're by Marissa Myers. All of my favorite authors' names start with M.
That's
except
true.
for V.E. Schwab. Her name starts with a S. I almost said V.
You must have a difficult time looking up books in the fiction section.
I kind of do sometimes, honestly, because I'm like, I can only remember your first name. Or like,
you're just so intimately friends with all these authors, you can't.
No, like if you read enough YA, you don't call them by their last names. You call them by their first names.
I mean, I feel that, but still, I like the idea that you can't even remember.
No, it's like watching a J.J. Abrams movies and then just calling him JJ.
Do people do that?
Yeah, they do.
Okay. Back to New Zealand. Yeah, the theme for this episode is like super burned into my mind. It keeps
I call like the like pizzicato bits J sneaking theme.
That makes it, yeah. Well, it was like it's the mischievous J theme, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
My boy has a theme. I was just imagining him crawling through bushes when it was playing.
More like hopping between bushes, because he can't exist outside of the bushes.
No, like going in one bush, and then just like looking around, popping his head up like a meerkat, lowering it, and then just like scurrying into another one, and then just like repeating the process.
Except I picture the scurrying, it's very reptile-like. His body, he has like lateral undulation, where the body does like...
Oh yeah, he's like going like a lizard.
Yeah, like...
He's like actually just slithering on his stomach, and his arms are just waggling like that. It's really weird. That's why he doesn't want people to see him.
That's why Buddy was so confused when he first ran into him, Mr. Buddy Snowy Day.
That's why, honestly, that's the reason why his, friendship with Priscilla was so beautiful, because she was the only one who didn't verbally look down on him for that and express it directly. She just talks about it behind his back.
She just visually looked down on him because he was laying on his stomach.
He knows that she does, but she never says it directly to his face, and he respects that.
And that's how friendship works.
That's how friendship works.
Yeah.
That's why they're best friends. I need Priscilla to come back.
Yeah, so the main theme for these episodes at the beginning, it's like, oh wow, this is like the whole version of the song. I forgot there even was like a full version. I don't even remember if it's in the episode, like beyond the initial beginning thing, but it goes on for a while until it becomes mischievous enough that I'm like, I assume this is Jay's introduction into the episode. And like you said, yeah, the very like pizzicato and sneaking.
Jay.
Most of the rest,
sneaky boy.
Most of the rest of the
sneaky
piece,
snake boy.
Most of the rest of the piece keeps the J spirit in it, but it's also lighthearted. I'm going to call this pastel J-core. That's what this genre is.
I hate
and then
you.
At the end, there's this mysterious twinge of Joelle's story.
Twinge?
What? Twinge?
That's a very quotable one. That's one that we quote a lot.
When I was listening to Mabim on my way to work this morning, Griffin punctuated the end of a sentence with twang. And
twang? What? Twang?
It's good. Good moment. Good sarcastic Tom. We get slow acoustic arpeggios over quiet arcotto. I always forget the word for arcotto. Honestly, I always remember pizzicato is the opposite of pizzicato. It's like bowing.
Okay.
And I always forget what
That's
it is.
one of the ones I was bad at remembering what it meant.
Yeah. Pizzicato is a fun word because it looks like pizza.
I remember I tried to use cat somehow to help me remember what arcotto meant, but I don't think it worked very well because it had nothing to do with cats in any way, so then I just got really confused.
I mean, it makes sense because you're making a big arc with the bow.
Oh wait, it might be because cats are lazy and it's slow. That might have been what it was.
It's very... Oh, I guess this is part 2, and I never wrote it in. I was confused about the transition here.
Yeah, me too. But we're on part 2 now.
It's part 2.
You don't have different names for the different J episodes?
No, it's Living in the J. It's the best one I've ever come up with, except for Wild West Sausage Fest. So...
I forgot about that. Why'd you remind me?
That's the second best one I've ever come up with.
No!
I'm keeping it for all 4 parts.
No!
Even I was tempted to make a sarcastic different names for part 2.5.
Not only did you remind me that episode exists,
but also the title I came up with.
You remind me that you made that name for the episode.
So good. Part 2 is very contrasting with the first piece. It's minimalist, minor piano bit, very heavy damper. Honestly, I felt like, because it wasn't just normal damper pedal on the piano bit. It was really heavy, where it's blurry, and I was I feel like this is Joelle's mind as she's navigating her relationship with Ethan, because it's the area of the episode where Ethan gets introduced and she's oh, what's going on? So I was I feel like this just holding down the damper pedal and just blurring everything together is supposed to be her confusion and stuff.
Before I forget,
this
is unrelated, but I need to ask.
It's calming and hypnotic.
That's
the end of my point.
It has to do with music.
Yes.
So, what year was no. What year was Wake Me Up Inside or whatever written?
2008, I believe. Because it just hit its 10-year anniversary a couple days ago, right?
So, since
it
Ultron is gonna be 2000s music.
Wait, sorry, no, 2003.
Are they gonna have Wake Me Up Inside in not Ultron, in Infinity War? When someone dies, they're gonna play Wake Me Up Inside.
Why?
Because Peter's gonna have his.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Now.
Hopefully,
and
or
when he gets
what
to
you
Earth,
say.
I'm hoping he's gonna get an iPhone, so he'll have music from this.
That's the wrong tree of progression, though, because he has Zune now, right? That's right.
I know, but he's gonna find out that Zune suck and
everything. The movie comes out tomorrow, so I assume most.
We have pre-ordered tickets. I'm so excited. Tell us in the comments who dies, because it won't matter.
I remember now.
We'll see it
was 2003 because I saw the post about it the other day. It's 15 years, and I looked at the date, and I was I was oh.
I want them to have a bunch of bad Evanescence music.
Evanescence.
I always say their name wrong.
It struck me that the song came out 2 or 3 weeks after Rooster Teeth started. Because it was in April of 2003.
I wish it came out on April 1st.
Yeah.
Rooster Teeth. It's an April Fool's joke
Anyways,
to the world.
Part 2 ends with the same chords reappearing at the end with a sharper and clear set. The chords from the hazy Joelle's mind dissociating PTSD bit. End of the song, same chords, but now it's sharp and clear, no damper pedal, which possibly represents the others taking what Joelle and Ethan have said and investigating it with clear heads and determined focus now. I said either, although I only wrote down one thing, except I said either. It doesn't actually say either on there. I think I saw Ethan.
No, I think you're supposed... Yeah, I was going to say, it just meant to say Ethan 3 times.
Yeah. I can't read Okay, I'm
You
Jared,
think
and I never
I
learned how to
can?
read.
There was like that thing you showed me at the beginning, and I thought what was that? Wait. I was supposed to say master at work, and I said monster trucks.
Yeah,
so like
I was like master and monster. That's fair. Master and monster truck? Questionable.
I saw master and then T, and I was like master truck.
Okay, Jared.
Monster truck.
Calm down, Dooley. Living in the J, part 2.5/3. Back to the main theme of the top. Big tonal shift.
Back to the future.
Big tonal shift from the end of part 2. It quickly moves into jungly acoustics. I don't know if the instrumentation is specifically Maori or if it's supposed to be like a generic jungle feel. I hope it's the former, because honestly, pieces like these are such great opportunities for like legitimate exposure to other cultural musical paradigms.
I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of Maori stuff since
Thor.
Well, like since this episode.
I have, but most of it was because of Thor and like Taika Waititi's press stuff during and after the film's release.
I'm not sure if it was because of Thor. But,
or because you were just noticing it now.
I was like noticing it on Tumblr and stuff, and it's like the same thing with like Irena, where it's just like I don't know if this is just everywhere before.
I'm pretty sure
I'm
pretty sure I had never heard, like it wasn't just I didn't notice it, that I'd never heard of Irena Sendler until like the episode came out, and then in the next couple months after that, and I said this in the interview with Kathy, 3 separate times I saw posts both on Facebook and on Tumblr that were like talking about the life of Irena Sendler. I was like, I know this.
Maybe it was like an anniversary.
I don't think so. Thing. It was just like random, and I was like, huh, that's cool.
I need Dallas to say, I always pronounce her name wrong and say Irena, and I'm sorry.
I don't think I've ever heard you say it like that.
I've done it a lot.
Okay.
Just take my word. I always forget that's pronounced Irena, and I apologize. I'm bad at pronouncing names sometimes.
I feel like the jungle-y music of this is probably just like generic jungle sounds, which I wish that episodes like this would take the opportunity to be like, hey, we can actually like explore like the actual culture and like musical stuff of this stuff instead of just being like the same, whether we're in like Papua or New Zealand or, you know, like any
I was trying not to say it
country in the Southern Hemisphere.
Perfect Testimony, but that's one of the reasons why I thought it was unfair game. I was like, oh yeah, this is his jungle music. I guess I take it back when I say like we don't just reuse the same songs anymore. There is the jungle music
and the underwater music.
There's jungle music and there's underwater music.
That always only used once, so maybe I'll withdraw my point.
Somewhere far away from here, it's just like we're gonna use jungle music.
Yeah, honestly, it feels very...
I was trying not to say it because I thought it'd be, like, insensitive.
Well, I think it's, like, not for you, but, I mean, it is the same music that's used regardless of the country, that it is anything remotely temperate uses, like, the same...
That's why I didn't say it before, and that's why it confused me about Perfect Testimony. I thought it was unfair game.
And it annoys me. The same thing as, like, any episode that takes place in Eastern Asia is going to have the exact same instrumental palette, even though, like, it should be different and stuff, and I feel like...
We need to respect the Avatar. She will kill us all. Actually, that didn't take place, and that was like... That was in South America, that episode? I'm trying to remember.
That was in Nepal.
Where was that? Okay,
Nepal.
Where is Nepal?
North of India.
Okay, so Africa... Oh. I'm so...
It's in Asia.
Okay. I'm bad at locations, but...
It's in the Himalayas.
Yeah. So it is in Asia.
Yes.
So I'm bad at
southern Asia, southern Central Asia.
But she's the Avatar, though.
Yes.
And I need a spin-off show, but I can't remember what her name is. She's so She's the most powerful. Yeah, actually, I take back what I said before. Top 10 intense Novacom scenes, 9 of them are going to be wit. One of them is going to be her almost drowning.
And simultaneously burning down and drowning.
The prison cell.
Yeah.
Because that was horrifying, but, like, amazing.
We got so many good views out of that.
That was so scary, but, like, I also want to high-five you. Not while you're on fire, though.
Yeah.
But, like, you're super cool.
It was a good episode.
It was a good episode. I wish I could remember her name.
So the song for part 2.5, the bonus episode of Living in the J, is fairly calm and minor, it's appropriately sad for a story about a young girl being murdered. And the last 20 seconds brings things back to the main theme to round out this strange diversion from the main story.
Yeah, I remember I was listening to this one, and then I got, like, really happy. I was like, wait, doesn't she die in this? And then I was like...
It was very sad in the end. It was back
it's it's like really cheery. Like, you can imagine hobbits prancing around. I'm like, sorry, you just murdered a child. You legally cannot do that. There are laws against it.
I will arrest you.
I will arrest you.
Jonathan Campbell. And then finally, part 4. Bagpipes bring something significantly different as we go to the A&P show for the first third of the song. And then it gets a bit emotional.
What does A&P?
That was the show, like the show where he was doing the sheep things, remember? And I was like, that's probably A&P.
I thought it was like a type of music for a second.
No.
And those are abbreviations.
Remember, I was like, A&P show is probably named after the grocery store chain from that short story that you have to read in English about the cashier.
Why do you keep on reminding me about that terrible short story?
Because we keep talking about it. About the sirens and stuff. They're like metaphorical sirens.
No, stop. I don't like remembering that story.
It got fired. It was sucky. And it's all like about communism and stuff. It's crazy.
Stop.
Stop. Then it gets a bit emotional because Joelle gets the chance to finally talk to her father in person and work things out. And then we return to the main theme again, which increases in intensity increasingly for the last half of the piece. The intensity accelerates to the end. And that's all the songs. There's 13 pieces this time because there's 13 episodes in the season, which balances out the 11 pieces that we got in season 2 because we didn't have a Cure Part 2 song. So we finally balanced out the total song count at 48 now. Swept Away Part 2 is the longest song of this album. There and Back bonus Part 2.5, the bonus episode.
Are you okay?
Yep. Is the shortest, although the difference between them is shorter than ever. I'll put my math up here on the screen. The song lengths are very similar to each other. In this one, it has the lowest standard deviation between song lengths of all 4 albums released thus far, just below last year's, the previous year, 2016. It also had the highest average song length by 10 seconds, clocking in at 3 minutes and 10 seconds over the average 3 minutes of 2015, because I'm a scientist, so I just had to put it in Excel and see what the standard deviation was. I was just going to guess and be like, these seem pretty similar. I'm not going to take the time to do the math. And I sat there for a second, and I was like, I mean, it's only going to take like 3 minutes to do the math. So I did. My favorite song was...
You could have spent those 3 minutes curing cancer. You're so insensitive.
Favorite song was both parts of Swept Away. Least favorite song was Unfair Game. I was not a fan of the super high energy syntho sports theme, but I thought Swept Away had a lot of variety that captured like specific scenes and like storylines in my mind, and I really liked the way that it took the same scene of the episodes at the beginning and end and did the same thing with the music, but like changed the music, the chords from minor to major to show the emotional resolution once we found out what was going on. I thought that was neat.
My favorite songs were from the There and Back Again episodes I really liked. And then also what's the opening?
One More Name?
Yeah, One More Name part. All the parts of One More Name. More Name part 2 specifically was my favorite because I really like that sad theme. Not the original Odyssey sad theme. This one's different.
All 3 of them were sad, but this one was the sad TM.
This one was the saddest, and I liked that because I'm depressed. My least favorite songs were Unfair Game. I didn't really feel anything for that one. I felt like nothing for Swept Away also. And I'm also gonna put Perfect Testimony on there out of spite, even though I did like it. Yeah.
Just not a fan of the sports, are you? What a bigot.
Aww. You're so mean to me. And the thing is, I did like that song. I'm just upset now.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you're prejudiced because you're a bigot.
I'm gonna go cry after we're done filming this.
So is that... we should give a rating to the album. Because that's a thing we do.
Yeah. I think I liked more songs than I disliked. So I'm gonna give it like a 3.7 out of 5. I feel like I've given them higher. I feel like every single time I don't go reviewing a certain like genre of Odyssey stuff for a while.
Yeah.
Like, or media format
yes,
genre.
Yeah,
thing.
I know what you mean.
Like the shows or the soundtracks. I just, like, completely changed my reviewing
I mean,
style
yes,
to them.
absolutely. I don't remember what my scale is.
It's been a year. Time I rate something, all my past stuff has to be rescaled.
Yeah. By
so,
a standard which only you know, except you don't.
no one knows.
Which only you could potentially know in a theoretical situation.
Only the present version of me knows, but it's the present version of me in every episode. So the
present version of you deconstructed along the fourth dimension over the last 4 years.
What I'm saying is...
Only God knows. Only God knows the quality of these soundtracks.
1, only God knows. 2, none of these soundtrack reviews have any meaning or significance. That's what it means. You just wasted your time watching this.
It's Ecclesiastes up in here. It's all meaningless. Yeah, same thing. I'm gonna give it 4.2, whatever that means.
Nothing means anything.
Honestly, it's funny. I was listening to Griffin like 2 days ago talking about like, the video game review scale where like everything is reviewed within a very tiny margin of numbers, but they have drastically different meanings. And I was like, that's exactly what our rating system for the Oddcast is like. I give ratings between such a narrow margin, and it's like, what are these things that actually mean? Only I know.
What did you think of the first thing of Rachel ever seeing? Her introduction to Griffin was seeing Amiibo Corner.
I haven't.
I sent you a thing about it.
Oh, I must have missed it.
Oh, darn it. I had like a really funny joke to go on with it too.
That's the end of this episode.
Anyway,
I think.
No album review, because this episode got super long for a soundtrack review. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did notice it,
They're usually like really short, but not this time.
Yeah. Also, no album predictions because we still don't have the description for album 65. It's coming out in July. We're running out of time.
I don't know about you, but like I was thinking about our first episode the other day, and I was thinking...
I try not to at all.
I was thinking like, you know what? We're pretty lucky when it comes to podcasts because our first episode, though very cringy and full of false promises and lies...
So many lies!
It's very short.
It is.
So I think that is a positive. Remember when we used to do bloopers and...
Yeah.
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 I mean, yeah. The thing is, we stopped doing bloopers because we quickly became consummate media professionals who never make mistakes. And so there was no need for bloopers anymore because we're perfect.
I think the thing was we stopped caring.
Actually, the real reason is because we stopped filming on a camera on a tripod where there was like a long period between starting the camera and starting recording.
That too.
That was the real reason.
Yeah, now we can just turn it. Can you imagine if I turned it off right there?
I mean, I could. There would just be a break and then it would continue filming because we'd turn it back on to film the end of the episode, which we need to do because we're 59 minutes now. I want this to be under an hour, so let's go fast. What are we doing next
59,
time, Victoria?
Do you know what that means?
It's 10:08. What are we doing next time, Victoria?
Episode 143, failing to the finish line, ampersand, last in a long...
Stop it.
Line.
Okay, so, yeah, maybe we can truncate the titles together to be like last in a finish line or failing to the long line or something. I feel
I like failing to the long line.
I feel like we need to consolidate the titles because it's too long for YouTube. Our titles are already so long and I hate it. but they're
I want it
descriptive,
to be,
so I'm torn emotionally.
You do one word from the first episode's title, and then one word from the second.
It's like
failing
it's like
last. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when James plays Think About It, and then he just says something completely else.
There's a coded message, guys. Can you find
Can
it?
you find it?
Until then, next time, I've been Evan Francis, also known as Leonard Meltzner.
And I'm done third year.
Yes, and thank you for joining us on our side of YouTube. This has been episode 141, The Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast. Goodbye.
You know what this means,
I really
Devin?
that.
Now that we've filmed so many soundtrack episodes, I've filled my debt and the curse is broken that witch put on me.
Yay!
I'm free!
You're free!
I never have to review a soundtrack episode ever again.
You never have to listen to music for the rest of your life.
No!
You're free!
No!
Goodbye.